my teacher, Professor K.J. Kamath, who is present here with us today, Honorable Chancellor Dr. Pai, Pro-Chancellor Dr. Balal, Vice-Chancellor Dr. K. Ramanarayan, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, parents, and dear students. At the outset, let me start by first congratulating the outgoing class of 2014 for your remarkable achievement in graduating from this phenomenal institution that is the Manipal Institute of Technology, and that I personally know to be the mighty, mighty MIT. When I got a call from Registrar Prabhu, the first thing that crossed my mind was, a call from Manipal? Did I do something wrong in my last year of college? Are they going to take back my degree? But then soon I came to my senses and realized that it's been 30 years since I passed out, and I could not have done something so wrong for punishment after 3 decades. Registrar Prabhu then asked me if I could speak at the forthcoming convocation. I was overwhelmed with a number of mixed emotions. Overwhelmed because there can be nothing more rewarding than one's alma mater appreciating what one has done in life. I mean, it's the same place where one has also done a lot of mischief. I felt like a child basking in the warmth of a parent's approval. Mixed emotions because while I was delighted with the invite, I also felt guilty that I had not visited Manipal after I had passed out in 1984. I had taken my learnings at MIT for granted. This is indeed something that I will certainly correct in the years to come. Dear friends, MIT of today is a lot different than what it was 34 years ago when I had entered college. I joined MIT in 1980, and yes, to be honest, I had failed to clear the other so-called blue-chip engineering colleges. A fact which at that time had disappointed me, but today makes me deeply grateful. I came from a very well-educated family, and both my parents were distinguished professors of law at the Pune University. My father was educated at Harvard and my mother at Yale. Being the only child, and to prevent me from getting spoiled, I was dispatched to the boarding school at the Scindia School, Gwalior. I could stay there for just 2 years in class 3 and 4 before returning to the comforts of home. I joined Loyola High School, a Jesuit school in Pune, and was a fairly good student, consistently ranking among the first 5 throughout my schooling years. And yes, we did have ranking in schools in those days. For some strange reason, I lost focus on studies in class 11 and 12 and did not secure adequate marks to get admission into a desired college. My inability to succeed in an entrance exam was further magnified given the fact that my parents were successful and well-known academicians. So, finally, I started my life in Manipal, somewhat dejected and hurt. I found it difficult to cope with some subjects in my first year and could not clear metallurgy. But I did make some great friends who are with me even today. They bucked me up, and I soon started to enjoy what I was studying. Even 30 years ago, the one thing that MIT was known for was for its practical approach towards engineering. I studied mechanical engineering, and Professor Karanth ran the mechanical workshop like a temple. I enjoyed doing things with my hands, and my understanding of engineering became a lot more real in the workshop. The mechanical workshop was one of my favorite places. In one of the later semesters, in a class on operations research, I asked a question of Professor Kamath. He found the question to be so brilliant that he went on to acknowledge that as the most intelligent point that any student had ever made in his class. I'm not really sure if the question was really that smart, but Professor Kamath's encouragement did a lot for my confidence. Professor Kamath had pushed the right button in me to get me going. During my stay at MIT, I got selected into the hockey team, won a few singing competitions, and even became the president of the Rajdhani Club. I graduated with a distinction which was in fact an average of the last 4 semesters back then. My experience in running a club was my first lesson in leadership. In short, I finished college on a rather good note. My first job was as an engineer trainee at Bajaj Auto, and I must have been one of the few interns who was very comfortable working on machines and doing things with one's own hands. Professor Karanth had trained me well. My hands-on approach helped me endear myself to the workers on the shop floor. I was off to a good start. I subsequently worked in organizations like the Tatas in India and multinational corporations like Wärtsilä and General Electric. I lived abroad in Finland working for Wärtsilä for over 5 years. Slowly but surely, I grew in confidence and overcame my mental block of being a disappointment. Along the way, I was fortunate to found my life partner and friend who made huge sacrifices to help me succeed and tolerated all my idiosyncrasies. As I look back, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I learned from my mistakes, and it is this alma mater that gave me the confidence and ability to do so. Life has turned a full circle for me, and here I am, standing at the altar of the same alma mater, 34 years later, transformed from a so-called failure to a so-called successful officer of the world's largest infrastructure company. As I look ahead, I see a very bright future for all of you. The MIT of today is a much sought-after institution and the environment brilliantly conducive for high-quality learning. It is also an environment which could make you complacent or perhaps even arrogant. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to share the learnings of my life, and as a fellow MITian, I seek your indulgence in hearing me out. I wish to make 5 brief points. First, no human being can be branded a failure or a success. It was wrong on my part to have thought of myself as a failure 34 years ago. It would be equally wrong of me to think of myself as a success today. The circumstances around us keep changing, and if anyone believes that they can control their destiny to guarantee success, they are mistaken. We have seen many successful people fall from grace, and many failures recognize their successes later on in their lives. It is impossible to live life without failing at something, unless, of course, you live so cautiously that you might not have lived at all, and in that case, you have certainly failed. In the words of Churchill, success is not final, failure is not fatal, and it is the courage to continue that counts. Second, more important than your degree is your attitude. It is tempting to believe that after 4 years of engineering and with a degree, you know it all. Far from it. This degree is only an entry pass into the real world. You now know the various terms that are used in the real world to communicate, but your true learning will only now begin as you graduate. What matters in the real world is now not how well you've learned the jargon, but your attitude. Are you curious to learn more? Can you get along with other people? What are you passionate about? Are you humble enough to understand that there will always be something that you don't know? Do you want to make a difference? And so on. Skills and knowledge can be acquired, but attitude is something that is difficult to change as age catches on. Whenever I recruit people, academic qualification is perhaps the last thing I look for. I look for passion, humility, and the curiosity to learn. Once, while making the selection for the Tata Administrative Service, there was this girl from Jammu who had graduated from a small college near Jammu with modest scores. Her English was not exactly Queen's English, but we could understand her well enough. Her passion, however, to do something for the people of her state and her pride was electrifying. A panel of 3 senior Tata directors immediately decided to take her into the famed TAS program, selecting her over many others with perfect scores from famous institutions. Bottom line is, it is choice and not chance that determines your destiny. A positive attitude is the most important thing in life and will always carry the day. Third, don't take your loved ones for granted. In pursuit of our personal ambitions, we usually take our loved ones for granted. Soon after I got married, we moved to Jamshedpur because I got a good career opportunity. While there, I had to send my wife, who was expecting our first child, to her parents because there was some disturbance in town. I, however, decided to stay on in Jamshedpur because I put my job before my wife. We soon moved to Finland, which is a bitingly cold place. Our son was born in Finland. I spent more than 200 days in a year traveling, leaving my wife behind to fend with 2 young children. Once again, I put my career ahead of my family. I did well professionally, but only because my wife decided to sacrifice her present for my future. As you step out into the real world and pursue your ambitions, I urge you to constantly remind yourself that there is someone out there who is giving up his or her today for your tomorrow. If nothing else, at least acknowledge that sacrifice and always remember it. Fourth, technology can solve many of the world's challenges. You are graduating from the Manipal Institute of Technology. The key word here is technology. But technology has to have a purpose. The world today has about 8 billion people. It is said the global population will stabilize at about 11 billion people. More than 3/4 of the current global population does not have even basic amenities like clean drinking water, basic health care, or electricity. We all know that the earth has limited resources and our demands on those resources are constantly increasing. The only way to meet our ever-increasing needs with the limited resources is to leverage technology. Consider these facts. More poverty has been reduced in the last 50 years than in the previous 500 years, and most of that has happened in the last 20 years. Your cell phone has more computing power than the Apollo space capsule. LED lights consume almost 70% less power than conventional bulbs. Cost of solar power in India has dropped by 40% over the last 3 years. The internet has revolutionized communication by making it affordable and faster at the same time. This festival season, we found shopping malls relatively empty because people are buying online, etc. Technology has not only made our daily lives easier and more affordable, but it has also altered our social behavior. You and I, my friends, have an obligation to use our knowledge of technology to improve the world, and even more so in our part of the world where poverty is still so rampant. Remember, you have the power to make a difference, so use that power well. Fifth, you can never achieve success till you like what you are doing. While you go about building your future, remember that you need to accomplish something before you demand respect. In order to accomplish something, you will need to focus on depth before breadth. Take personal risk on what you believe in and live with integrity. Dear friends, as you step out to face the world, carry your education with pride but with humility. Be confident but not arrogant. Be grateful to your loved ones. Remember their contributions in your growth, and above all, have lots of fun. The world will become a much nicer and more joyful place as you continue your climb. May you make many friends, and may you meet them all at the top. Let me finally finish with a small Irish prayer for you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you for listening, and once again, wish you all the very best in life. Thank you.